You like to tell yourself that your emotional support animal is just there to make you feel better, that it's harmless, that it's healthy, that it's a sign of self-care and not a red flag with fur. But deep down, there's a hungry dependence hiding behind the cute Instagram posts and the little sweaters you buy for them. The truth is uncomfortable, so you wrap it in plush blankets and dog treats. Science has looked at this. A 2019 study from the University of Toledo found that people who rely heavily on pets for emotional regulation often score higher on anxiety and avoidant coping strategies. Translation: you don't solve the problem. You outsource it to a creature that doesn't know what taxes are. And before you start typing angry comments, yes, there are cases where animals genuinely help therapy animals for PTSD guide dogs, medical alert animals. That's not the debate. The debate is when you use your cat to avoid facing the fact that you can't stand being alone with your own thoughts. You cling to the idea that this furry thing understands you. No, it doesn't. It recognizes patterns. It knows when you grab the leash, food is coming, or when your voice changes tone, something might be wrong. It's conditioning, not soul connection. But admitting that means looking at the real reason you need constant comfort. And that's terrifying. Here's the psychological trick. You're creating a dependency loop. The more you rely on your animal for emotional stability, the less you train your own nervous system to self-soothe. It's like using sugar every time you're sad. Short-term comfort, long-term weakness. And sure, that might feel harsh, but the American Psychological Association has pointed out repeatedly that avoidance coping tends to intensify the very distress you're trying to escape. You're not healing, you're hiding. And speaking of hiding, some of you slap the label emotional support animal on your pet just to bypass airline fees or bring them into places where they don't belong. You've convinced yourself it's a need, but is it? Or is it entitlement wearing a therapy vest? Because if the animal is doing all the emotional heavy lifting for you, what happens when it's gone? Grief is one thing, total collapse is another. Now, if you've made it this far, you probably want to believe you're the exception. Maybe you are. But here's where I'm going to ask for something. If you actually want more content that cuts through the sugarcoating and gets to the psychological bone, subscribe, turn on the notifications, leave a comment, and tell me. Do you think emotional support animals help people heal, or do they just keep them comfortable enough to never change? That feedback matters more than you think, because the more of you speak up, the more we can make videos that actually say what needs to be said. Back to the point. There's also the marketing machine behind all this. Pet industry profits in the United States hit over $100 billion in 2021, according to the American Pet Products Association. A significant portion of that isn't about animal welfare, it's about human neediness, packaged as compassion. You buy the bed that looks like a tiny throne, the organic treats the GPS collar with gemstone studs. Because deep down, it's not about the dog feeling royal, it's about you feeling like you've provided something meaningful, and that illusion is addictive. Of course, this isn't just about dogs and cats. Some people choose reptiles, birds, or even pigs as their emotional crutch. It's less about the species and more about the role. The animal becomes a living antidepressant. One you don't have to swallow with water, and one that doesn't talk back. Except maybe the parrot, which frankly is just repeating your own nonsense back at you. The irony is, humans evolved to form social bonds with other humans for emotional stability. When that fails, we replace them with animals because they can't betray us in the same way. But that's not emotional maturity. That's emotional risk, avoidance, and it keeps you exactly where you are. Comfortable enough to survive, uncomfortable enough to complain, never uncomfortable enough to change. Some research does show that animal interaction can lower cortisol and blood pressure. Sure, briefly. Then life happens again. The problem isn't that your pet is bad for you. The problem is that you've made it your only tool for mental survival. And when one tool does everything, you stop developing any others. Which is why, when the animal inevitably dies, some people spiral so badly they can't function for months or years. It's not because the loss isn't painful, it's because they were leaning on that creature, like it was a structural beam holding their whole psyche up. So, myth or reality? Here's the inconvenient answer. It's both. Yes, animals can provide genuine emotional benefits backed by real science. But no, they don't replace the human responsibility to build resilience from the inside out. If your animal is the only thing keeping you from falling apart, that's not emotional support, that's emotional codependence. And the sooner you see it, the sooner you can start giving your pet what it actually deserves, a healthy human, not a broken one using it as a life raft. And if that stings, good, it should. Because the truth is, no amount of wagging tails or soft purrs can replace the work you're refusing to do inside your own mind. Your emotional support animal might comfort you, but it will never cure you.